It's early. It's a lot of nervous energy. People coming from all over. There's tension, there's excitement, there's a little bit of a chill in the air, but it's going to be a hot day. Today's going to be a long day, a lot longer for some than others. The morning is spent engorging ourselves on waffles and coffee and eggs and anything else we can get to help sustain us through the day. And then there's all those hours out on the course. Sometimes it takes people 16, 17 hours to complete the BWR. They're all gonna ride 135-ish miles. 46 miles of those are in dirt, over rocks, gravel, through water, sand, a lot of it into a headwind. They'll climb about 12,000 feet. The last climb is the worst. There are pitches at the end that are 23%, and they force riders to get off their bikes and push them up to the top, knowing that they can coast down to the bottom if they don't have much energy left. But sometimes on a magical day, these things all come together and you finish and you're greeted by throngs of cheering fans and the grandest of all gifts, which is the Lost Abbey Badass Ale. It's gonna be a great day. You've got a whole host of volunteers that make this thing happen. There's hundreds and hundreds of people that come together to allow all these people to race around North County, San Diego, and to do so safely.
Rock on, Eastside. Thank you, brother. That was rad. I think it's time. You guys ready to go play bikes? Right on. How about all my fans and friends over here? Families are ready. My riders are ready. Ladies and gentlemen, the 2018 Canyon Belgian Waffle Ride rolls off in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So this is the 7th year of the Canyon Belgian Waffle Ride. My name is Michael Marks, and I started the Belgian Waffle Ride because there isn't anything like it in the US. So roughly the first 12 miles of the Belgian Waffle Ride are escorted by the CHP for safety. It's a neutral section, so no one attacks. The CHP guides us through. It's very safe and sane. Riders probably average 23 miles an hour. It's pretty docile. It's meant to be a safe way to begin the ride with so many riders in each wave. But lo and behold, there's one guy who's not gonna wait. He's gonna attack the group. He actually shoos away the CHP and the filming vehicles. As with any spring classic, the real crazy parts are the lead-ins to the dirt sectors. And the first dirt sector for BWR is Lemon Twistenberg, and all the smart riders get to the front and hit this first sector because it's a single track to get out in front, because if you're caught behind, you're going to be waiting a long time and you'll be at the whim of the slower riders that potentially got in front of you. Then the other challenge here is not only is it single track and you're now caught with a bunch of people, there's plenty of chances for flats or crashes, and inevitably this first dirt section has a lot of casualties with boo-boos and flat tires and mechanicals. So this section ends up being, for some people, the end to a very short day. Lemon-Twistenberg has a downhill section towards the end of it that's really tricky. Super steep. You got to grab a lot of brake there because at the bottom you'll either hit the metal post or the metal bridge and fly over into the ravine. And then at the end of Lemon-Twistenberg you got to climb up to Del Dios Highway. It's a little bit sandy. Some people get to the top, they're relieved. Some people get a little too excited that they've made it to the top. They hit that sand section and then they go right down. The second dirt sector is Muir Hodges Gate that features the famous rock garden. The rock garden is a very tricky place because the lines are very challenging and ever-changing, and because the rocks are so big and jagged and menacing, a lot of people flat here. At the bottom of the rock section is the first major water crossing, which for some people can end up being rather challenging. They either flat, they crash, they end up taking an early bath. But for those that have practiced and paid attention, they make it through smoothly, and they get to the end of this section without any casualties. This year, the level of competition in the field was a lot more talented. Both men's and women's field were really flying, which meant that the racers got to the Mighty Mule before the film vehicles did. So through this section, you're just catching the lead riders, of which there's about 30, including LARISSA Connors, who has managed to make it away with the lead group. And you've got a chase group that's coming after them, another minute or two down, that includes Laura King, Allison Tetrick, and then you've got Amity Gregg as well that are chasing on Mule Trail before the climb up Highland Ehrenberg. The first major climb of the day is the Highland Ehrenberg, which is about 5.5 miles of pitchy climbing, up and then flat and then up and then flat. It kind of staircases its way up. This section really can separate and leave riders that don't have their climbing legs behind. There's LARISSA Connors at the front, enjoying her time there, but she's not going to sit in. She's actually going to do the work and be there with everyone else, which is pretty darn impressive. After climbing up Highland Ehrenberg, there's a flat section through Ramona that goes on for a while up to the second aid station, which is the beginning of Black Canyon. Black Canyon's one of the most revered sections of gravel riding in all of San Diego County. It's 11 miles, features an uphill climb, a really tricky descent, and then another 6-mile uphill climb to the top. This is the section where there was a tremendous amount of attrition. 30 people entered the canyon, and at the top, there were 13. At the top of Black Canyon, which is about mile 55, there's a 20-mile road section that the riders work together, all 13 of them working together to get back to the next dirt section, which is Sutherland-Damberg. It's a tricky, fast descent. A lot of people crash here. The guys really came in hot, and as a result, even on the downhill, some of the riders lost contact. At the bottom of this hill, there's a climb back up Black Canyon where, remarkably, some of the riders that are now 30 plus miles behind are coming down the hill. So there's two-way traffic coming back up the 2-mile section of a climb up Black Canyon. Chasing after the lead group of 13, there was a smaller group of probably about 5 riders that included JUAREZ, the most celebrated mountain bike rider of US history. Now riders are confronted with a headwind and the first tricky dirt section after a long descent. Sandy Bandy is more than 3 miles of sand, ruts, single track, and again, it's got that headwind that makes it problematic for a lot of people. This is where the race of attrition really is starting to take its place. There were about 9 riders here in the lead group, which further get whittled down over the next 3 miles as the attacks start to happen. Sandy Bandy's where a lot of things happen. You can go into it with 7, 8 other riders and come out the other side with 3 or 4 riders with you. I found this section to be really exciting in terms of the race dynamics playing out. You could see the cracks happening. Well after 90 miles in the heat, it was starting to play or wreak havoc on a lot of the riders. Sandy Bandy's like the wall in the marathon. It's mile 20. It comes at the end and it finishes with a forced dismount. You got to make it through a gate, under the gate, over the gate, and people get to it and they just stop. Some of them weep. They don't know what to do. Others find a sofa across the road and take a nap and have a photo op. It's really that place where people regather and just try and figure out how the hell they're going to get through the next 40 miles of this event. It's a really, really punctuating moment in the day's events. After Sandy Bandy, there's the Bandy Vague climb, which then takes riders back through and back onto the course, heading the opposite direction into the headwind. There's the Mule Trail, followed by Lake Hodges. They get to go through the rock garden the other direction. It looks different, but it does the same sort of damage. The leaders here got whittled down to 6. You may recall they were 9 riders at the beginning of Sandy Bandy. This section takes its toll in many ways for the front and the back of the pack. There's a climb out of the water crossing. Some people choose to run it or walk it. Others go the long way around. Neither way is better. You still end up at the rock garden. If riders have made it through Lake Hodges, they get to the cockaboulet, which is a slang Belgian term for something we can't say here. This section has lots of whoops and turns. It's got jumps, it's got rocks, it's got forced dismounts. It's really challenging, and this late in the game, it can really wreak havoc on people. In fact, coming through here, the lead pack, a couple of the riders fell, and a couple of them actually had to stop and help the other riders, which was a pretty neat testament to those guys being great sportsmen. All of a sudden, Brian McCulloch is on the front, but he doesn't know it. He thinks he's chasing. So Brian thinks he's chasing here. He thinks he's 40 seconds down, and he's actually 40 seconds ahead of the four guys chasing him. He's going as hard as he can to catch back on. He can't see them around the turn, and he's getting time checks from the lead vehicle, and they're telling him 40 seconds. And he thinks he's got 40 seconds to make up on the lead guys, so the whole time he's putting the hammer down. Meanwhile, the guys behind him are having trouble catching him, and they're 40 seconds behind. So all the way up the final climb, they're chasing Brian. He thinks he's chasing them, and it made for a very interesting finale. Up to this beautiful festival that is the Belgian Waffle Ride. You want water?
Are you sure that just happened? There's no way that just happened. I was fourth on the road and then they told me I was the leader. Are you serious, bro? Thank you so much. Thank you for your help today. Thank you.
Your top 5, the 2018 Canyon Belgian Waffle Ride. Impressive group of riders as there ever was. For the riders too, we want to thank all of our family and friends that support us in these crazy things. So the wives and the husbands.
Piss it off, and then it would sting me again.
Oh, all right! Yeah! Serious?
Yeah.
Good job, boys. I can tell you that this event is everything that a bicycle race should be, because we can have breakfast with everybody in the morning, and there's so much community involved with this event, and it's just such a privilege to be out here for Elevate KHS Pro Cycling, and this is really for the hardcore bike rider. But then even at the end, when I was coming by people, I was high-fiving folks, and they're cheering me on. Like, this is about the enthusiasts, people that love riding bikes are out here. It's just a privilege. All walks of life. I can't wait to cheer on some people coming in and toast to them, because their success is incredible. I'm very thankful to be here.
You got in your hand there, Ted?
I have a Belgian beer. Recovery beer. 'Tis the season.
Tell me about the ride today, bud. How did it go? Tell me about the event in general. How, you know.
It was an excellent day. This is my second one of these bad boys. Came last year. Thankfully, it's about 20 degrees cooler today. So that was nice. Game of attrition all day, right? I mean, you start with 1,300, and then after an hour we got 100, and then I remember counting, we were a group of 12, then 9, then 6. And unfortunately, we were a group of 3, and we went off course, the lead 3. So then it was funny because the 2 guys chasing us were then in the lead, and then we're chasing them, but they think they're chasing us. So it became a total game of cat and mouse. I thought the race was over at that point, but then going up, double peak is always going to be a beast. And yeah, I was able to get across to Brian. And at that point I was pretty smoked in the sprint and just had nothing, so he got me in the sprint.
Overall, you have a great day and you have fun at the event?
Anytime you finish a race and you're happy and healthy and you got a beer, things are good.